Part 1, reading of the story Toy Town. It's a short story, about a curious cottage in a small town and what mysteries it holds. On the outside, people saw a shack. Some might consider it to be a small, cute little cottage, although not comfortable at all. Rather than looking like a home, the building looked homely and was truly an eyesore to the little town of Dependenceville, Ohio. The town was in desperation to be known for something, to be put on the map. However, the only thing, if anything, people mentioned when talking about the town was the 40-foot tall pencil in front of a family-run office supply and printing shop. The cottage was talked about by locals in rumors only that spread like wildfire or a wind-tossed wave on Lake Erie. Some claimed that the house was haunted. Others said that it was once the home of a poor old man they called Mr. Dreammaker, who was going to build a huge factory, maybe even an amusement park that would stimulate the town's economy and culture, providing both jobs and entertainment for not only their small town, but for the communities around them. Unfortunately, when he died, it was just left deserted and it continued to decay. Johnny Maynard was a 9-year-old boy who lived alone with his mother. Kids made fun of his name, but in addition to being the underdog because of his name, he was also naturally shunned by so many of his peers. Johnny wasn't sure why he didn't fit in, but always seemed to come up short and last in everything. Last to be picked for the kickball team, last to get any free handouts, and last pick when it came to anyone who wanted to be his friend. Johnny's mother was very supportive and encouraging him, as much as she could be. But she knew without a father figure in the house, there was no way for her to be a father, a friend, and also help him find other boys who would make good friends for him. Johnny asked his mother one night before she tucked him in, "Mom, what do you think about that old house? You know, the little one down the street. What do you think it is?" Mom simply said, If I told you, Johnny, you'd never believe me." She smiled as he thought of the mysteries his mom could create for him to fall asleep thinking about. "Come on, Mom," he giggled. "Okay, but you can't tell anyone, okay?" she said as she squinted her eyes and to set up the scene. "Wait," Johnny stopped her. "Is it scary?" Mrs. Maynard just smiled. Johnny knew it would be mysterious, but not scary. She began with a deep voice. "So, you want to know about the little cottage at the end of the street?" Johnny nodded yes, as he gave her his undivided attention. She continued, "Well, regardless of what you may have heard, the truth is that it was the home of a man known only as Mr. Dream Maker." Johnny asked, "Was that his real name?" His mom just put her finger to her lips to hush him. Then she looked over her shoulder as if she was going to tell Johnny a secret that she didn't want anyone to hear. "Johnny, that is not just any little home, son. It's a workshop." She had Johnny sitting up in bed now. "The old man built that house years ago, before I was even a little kid, and it is still standing there today. You know, it's not just a tiny home, don't you?" Johnny was speechless and could do nothing but nod as his eyes widened. His mother knew this was going to be a tale that Johnny would hold on to the rest of his life and would probably share with his kids someday. The one thing she wondered was if he would believe that most of what she said was actually true. The old man, Mr. Dreammaker, was the most innovative and creative man of all times. Like Dr. Rusha? Johnny asked. Yes, but Mr. Dreammaker made use of his genius to create toys, like Dr. Rusha did with science. Toys? Johnny lit up. His mom nodded yes and said, but these were not just any toys. They were the most amazing and breathtaking toys anyone had ever seen. Johnny couldn't help but chime in again. But Mom, what happened to him? What happened to the toys, and what happened to the house now? She smiled and patted his head. That is the ultimate secret and greatest mystery of all. But I can tell you. She looked over her shoulder again, as if checking to see if someone was there in his tiny bedroom, just waiting to hear what she was about to reveal. Johnny took her serious and found himself looking over her shoulder too, as he waited to hear what may answer a lot of questions that the whole town was dying to hear. Now, this is a secret, Johnny, okay? Johnny nodded. Cross your heart you won't tell a soul? Johnny nodded again and solemnly promised, I promise. Okay. Before the old man died, he had two of the most wise, gifted, and willing young men meet with him. They were the first and only ones who were ever invited into his home. The old man was going to choose one of the two to take over the workshop and develop it into a whole factory, one that would help the whole town. He knew he wouldn't live forever, although it is said that he could even turn himself into a toy and never really die. Out of the two men, one said he wanted to take over and buy all the property in the area and fill the lot with the biggest toy store that would make the most money ever seen. His plan was to take over the whole town. The other man, when asked what he would do if he was given the shop, that was nothing more than the old hut that you see there today, said that he would continue to do what Mr. Dreammaker was doing and listen to the ideas of what the original owner and developer wanted for the future. His hope was that boys, girls, moms, and dads would find joy through the efforts there and help the whole town grow. Johnny's forehead wrinkled. So, which man did he pick? His mother lovingly brushed his hair with her fingertips and asked, which would you have chosen? Johnny answered without hesitation, the guy that wanted joy for kids and stuff. It sounds like the other guy would make everyone move out, tear down homes and take over, tear down and destroy our town rather than develop it, make it even better. His mom said, you too are wise, gifted, and willing to have the attitude everyone should have. With that, she kissed his forehead and said, good night, son. Sweet dreams. As she was leaving the room, she turned off the light and was about to close the door, leaving it open just a crack. He begged for more, but she replied, another night, son, another night. Johnny fell asleep after hours of mind-wandering ideas, questions, and dreams. When morning came, he could not wait to get downstairs to see his mother at the breakfast table. Mom, Johnny started, you know the things you were telling me about the toy shop and stuff? Well, what did the guy do? The guy that the old man chose, what did he do? Much to Johnny's dismay, his mother murmured, what do you mean? She seemed disinterested. Johnny looked over at the coffee pot. He noted that she had already had at least one cup. It should have been okay to ask his mom many questions and receive coherent response. Mom, how could you not know what I mean? The man. The man that took over for the old guy, the original owner of the shack, the workshop, the one who wanted to make a factory. What happened? Again, Johnny was let down by his mother's answer. She seemed to be searching for something to make up. Well, that's the thing, Johnny. No one really knows. The work shed cottage is still there. There have been no changes, and the old man died. The young man he bequested it to, he was supposed to take over and do something, but obviously it went no further than just what you see today. Johnny watched as his mother choked up a little bit. Her voice quivered. The fun, mysterious nature turned into some type of frustrating monster she no longer wanted to bring to life as she did last night. Johnny wondered if she was hiding something about the whole thing, but didn't understand why. Seeing how upset she was, Johnny thought it best to drop or change the subject and get off to school. Oh, it's okay, Mom. I just wondered. I don't really care. I mean, it was cool you told me, but... His mother interrupted. Johnny, you promise you won't tell anyone, right? Johnny was puzzled why it was such a great, big secret and big deal mystery. Oh, no, Mom. Why would I do that? Of course I won't. I promise. Johnny watched as his mother dried a tear from her eye. Well, I'll see you when I get home from school, or, when you get home from work. I love you. With a quick kiss to her cheek, he was out the door. He licked his lips and tasted the salt from one of her tears. He couldn't make any sense of this. He thought this was just a pretend bedtime story. However, some of it must be true. He questioned why and who would care and get so sad or over-emotional about it. At school, the morning announcements started with an overexcited 10-year-old boy informing the students that the small cottage house on the corner of Dice Avenue and 13th Street was going to be opened for tours. He had nothing more to say, no details, and was pushed aside by another girl his age, acting like there were more important things that needed to be included in the morning announcements. Johnny heard nothing else after that. All he could think about was that toy workshop. In his mind, he replayed the story his mom told him last night. He began to formulate detailed pictures in his own imagination as to how it looked on the inside. He questioned, what kind of tours would they offer? It was so small. At recess, a few of the older boys, cooler kids, would sit on the top of the monkey bars, usually calling other kids names and acting like they were on top of the world. Johnny shied away from that group, but was able to sit at the base of a tree within earshot of the boys' conversation. Today, they talked to each other more than heckled those down below. One boy said, I heard that there are mice all over the place. Dead ones, half-dead ones, and ones that won't die. Another boy debated, half-dead? How can anything be half-dead? You're an idiot. The challenger sputtered, Nah, no. My older brother snuck in that old cottage, and they said they saw some serious crap. Like what? Another boy jumped into the heated debate. They told me not to tell. He rested his case. Bull crap, Nick called. Nick was the only boy in the group Johnny kinda knew. His association was just because their moms talked to each other in passing while he and Nick were drug along. Nick and Johnny had never spoke to each other, but their mothers carried on for what seemed like hours while the boys were trying to entertain themselves by reading cereal boxes, trying to see which ones had a free prize inside, and running their pocket matchbox cars over the shelves, dodging boxes that were huge boulders blocking the highway in their own mind. Johnny's mind went from that world back into the current one, as Nick's real friend spoke loudly. "There's nothing in that place, just dirt, dust, and cobwebs." The oldest and largest among the whole gang said, "There is something going on in there." All the other boys gave him their attention as he dropped his body down from the top bars while still holding on to the top bar. His feet almost touched the ground. "My friend from Lucky Lake High School said they peeked in the windows and they heard banging," he continued as he pulled himself back up, demonstrating what they thought was unusual arm strength for a kid his age. "They couldn't see much. It is dirty, and they said there's definitely something going on in there. Could be the old man's ghost." Johnny actually startled them as he came around the back of the tree and spoke up toward them. "It's not the old man." They looked down at him as, after quickly adjusting their natural jolt of fight or flight instinct. They all glared as if he had no right to speak. However, they listened because the whole town wanted to know more about that cottage. Johnny continued, "It's some guy that took over the old man's place when he died." The other boys looked at each other, and Johnny spoke with authority, surprising even himself, as he said, "He continued where the old man left off, building toys in the shed. And he's going to go on to make the biggest toy factory ever." "Toys? Ha ha ha!" the shortest boy in the group mocked. He was between excited and some type of pride that somehow wouldn't allow him to admit to others that he still liked to play with toys. The other boys didn't laugh long. All of them still loved toys and were figuring out what toys were closer to reality and which ones they needed to play with secretively so their peers didn't think they were still a baby. Nick recognized Johnny from the grocery store, but didn't bring it up. Instead, he challenged him. "How do you know?" Johnny turned and walked away. He appeared to be calm, cool, and collected, but he was actually really worried that he had already said too much. His chest felt heavy. He felt like his heart was snapping, just like the promise he was breaking to his mother. "Hey! Hey!" a few of the boys began to shout. "Come back here!" The bell rang and ended the kids' playtime outside. They had to go in. Once back in the classroom, the boys from the monkey bar gang kept exchanging looks, not listening to a word the teacher said. Johnny occasionally looked up from his school books and caught the boys glaring over at him. "I hope this doesn't lead to a fight after school," Johnny thought. The bell rang, ending the day. Johnny made a beeline for the door, leaving most of his things in his cubby. On his walk home, he kept looking behind him. Out of nowhere, 3 boys dropped down in front of him from a tree above the sidewalk. Johnny almost wet his pants. Before he could say anything, a boy came out from the bushes from behind him, saying, "Relax," although that was the last thing Johnny was capable of doing under the circumstances. The boy put his hand on Johnny's shoulder. "We just want to know more about that cottage, and tonight, you're going to give us our own little guided tour of the old man's work shed." Johnny broke out into a cold sweat. He shuddered. "I don't know. I really don't know much, guys. I just know that it's a workshop, like you guys said, and the old man that worked there picked someone to take over before he died. That's all I really know, really." Johnny ended his nervous rambling. "You can do better than that," said Nick. The tallest boy said, The tours are going to cost an arm and a leg to get in and see what's in that place." to see what that place is really like. That's what we got. That's what we got out of the geek that did the morning announcements. We don't want to pay an arm and a leg, do you? You want to give an arm and a leg to get in there? Just to find out that it's an old cobweb-filled toy shop that only history and antique buffs would want to see? Johnny nervously nodded no, as the boys continued to apply peer pressure. That is why we need to get in there before the tours and check it out ourselves. Another boy backed up the hardcore persuasion. We will be the first in the town to see what's in that place. See what that place is really like. Johnny whispered, I can't. I mean, I'd love to. I'm really curious too, but you can't just break in there. Nick smiled. No, we can't, but you can. No way, Johnny protested. Part of him wanted to turn and run away. The other part of him took a step forward rather than back, as he admitted, Look, guys, you scare me. You intimidate you. You really do. But nothing, not even you guys threatening me, could make me break the law. If you want to fight, we'll set a date, time, and place. He felt the adrenaline pumping through his body. The apparent leader of the pack was impressed by Johnny's boldness and said, Hey, what's your name? Johnny answered, but he dared not say his last name, which was properly pronounced Maynard, knowing that they would have a blast mispronouncing it and making up names like Smeared Meared, Johnny Smear, Johnny Potty, Potty Johnny, or, the worst, Murd the Turd. The fearless leader seemed to be accepting Johnny. At least, that is what he was picking up, with the hope that it wasn't a trick. His voice seemed rough, but oddly familiar, oddly warm. Johnny, Nick here said he knows you. Nick nodded and looked at Johnny. Nick says you know how to get in there without breaking in. Johnny started to gain more confidence and raised his voice. What? You gotta be kidding me. We've only seen each other at Food Mate. Our moms talked, but Nick, you've never said one word to me. Nick replied, Well, you never spoke up. Johnny agreed, and that made his point. See? You don't know me, man. Nick replied, Yeah, but you seem to know more than most, and... Nick hesitated. Johnny questioned, And what? The older friend of Nick pushed Nick. Tell him. Nick said, My mom told me not to say anything. You told me? Yeah, but you're my friend, and you're not Johnny Meared. Johnny got up close and pressed his chest against Nick. Nick turned his head as Johnny said, Don't tell me what. Nick backed down, saying, Okay, my mom said your mom knew the guy that took over. Johnny was taken back. That made him step off. No way. I don't know any more than anyone else. Inside, he wondered what more his mom knew. What was she hiding? Nick said, You knew the old guy died, and that there's someone in there with some type of plans for a large factory to take the place of that crap old cottage. Johnny answered, Yeah, but we'll just have to wait and see. I don't know anything else, and I have asked everyone I know what's up with that place, and no one knows anything more than what I told you. I swear to you guys. I think he's telling the truth, said Nick. The older boy said, Yeah, but he can't afford the tours, and we'll never afford the tours. That's only for rich, spoiled kids. We've lived here too long, and I've heard too much to miss out on what that place is like. We should be the first to see, and we'll be the ones everyone looks up to. All the thugs nodded and let out grunts of agreement. "Okay, listen, guys," Johnny pleaded. "Do we even know how much the tour is going to cost?" One boy answered, "No, nobody knows yet." The leader put his hand on Johnny's shoulder and moved his face close to Johnny's as he whispered, "Johnny, buddy, friend, it doesn't matter how much it costs. What matters is that we are the first in there, and people will pay us to know what's up with this town's biggest deal." That is the dumbest thing Johnny had ever heard. But he decided that this might be his opportunity to make some friends and be part of some kind of special social group, even if it was with these morons. "Okay," Johnny answered. The boys all looked at each other, amazed how easy it was to get this outsider to agree to get them inside. Johnny felt like he needed them, and now they needed him. "Oh, okay. Okay then," the leader began again. "Tonight, 2 a.m., meet at the corner of Dice Avenue and 13th Street, across from the college, behind the bushes in Mrs. Cushion's yard." The group broke up, and Johnny made the rest of his way home, feeling like he was actually in charge of a small gang of boys his age. He had always had trouble making friends, and never tried to form a bond with anyone before. He felt heroic. However, when Johnny got home, the fear of what was asked of him and what the boys were planning started to weigh heavy on his heart and mind. I'm going to stop there, and I'll put a link in the description below to go to part 2, the reading of Toy Town.